Welcome to all our attendees for the session on COVID-19 and its effects on importance of GRE and GMAT. Our speakers for the day include Manik and Parminder. Both have helped more than 10,000 students with their applications. Parminder is also an established GMAT trainer with 10 years of experience under her belt and has trained 2,000 students. Manik, an entrepreneur by profession, has been associated with the international education industry for about 15 years. Well, without taking too much of anybody's time, let's begin the session.
Thank you, Arbaz, for the introduction. Good evening, everyone. I don't know which part of the world you are in right now. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, whatever suits from my side. Thank you so much for giving us an opportunity to inform you, to make you aware about GRE, GMAT, study abroad plans, wherever we can be of any help to you. So today's topic with us is GRE or GMAT and its importance on your study abroad plans during COVID times. Next slide, please, Pavana. Pavana, next slide, please. Yeah, guys, I have. So this slide depicts the importance and weightage of it in your application for the test preparation. See, you have heard of multiple factors which contribute to admission. Ultimately, test prep also leads to admission. So admission is our final objective. When we look at application applying for MS, academics, whatever you have done so far, 4 year of your undergrad education, 3 year of your undergrad education, your academic transcripts are of huge value. But a similar weightage is given to the MS applicants when they have got a GRE score as well. So GRE becomes a very, very prime factor. A minimum score of verbal, a minimum score of quant would be required when you look for an MS program, either into sciences, engineering, life sciences, economics, business, or anything. Okay. So SOP, CV, LORs, they all contribute, but based on our studies, based on our survey, based on the inputs that we received from business schools and the engineering schools across the world, we are looking at this position where GRE score carries a weightage of about 30% for MS admissions. When it comes down to MBA, the consideration for GMAT or the what you can say the standardized test goes down to about 20 to 25%. But still 1/4 of your admission is still dependent on your standardized test score. MBA admissions carry a lot of weightage on CV as well as on the interview, which makes it a very even spread between multiple factors or parameters that a university is considering for you. So guys, this chart is very important. This is just not a vague figure. It has been made with experience and inputs that we have derived from multiple business schools and engineering schools across the world. Next slide, please, Pramila. So guys, just to give you an example of, there are many institutions, especially for business school, that they will consider both GMAT or GRE. We'll be taking the example later on. Even Parminder will be giving you a brief, complete description between GRE and GMAT. But for a subject like Masters of Finance, we are showing you the profile of Marshall. Marshall is business school for University of Southern California. It's one of the top 20 schools when you're looking at a master's in finance degree. High employability, great school to go to. If you look at, they have given both the figures. So for a program like Masters in Finance, a GMAT or GRE, both are important. Like in my last slide, when I talked about the factors that you need to work upon, you can look at like this. Undergraduate majors are represented by number of factors. Then average GPA is also mentioned. Okay, work experience, CV, average months of work experience, 15 months is mentioned. All these factors are very crucial when you're applying for your MS application as well, when you're applying to business school. So this slide we are just trying to show you an example of it, how you can look at giving a GMAT or GRE based on the course that you are preferring, and plus giving a trial about both the programs. Like Parvinder will talk to you later about giving a diagnostic test. You can give a diagnostic test of both these exams to find out which suits you better. So just an example for it. Next slide, please. So what is a good score? Guys, best score is 340 on GRE and 800 on GMAT. Okay, that is supposed to be the best score. But that is also an impossible kind of a score to get. So like we mentioned in our slide, 280 can be 300. The pool of applicants decide what score is right. Okay, it is not from your side. What you can do, try to score maximum from your side. So there is nothing like a good score is 310 this year, it could be 320. We can always look at statistics like median scores, average scores, minimum eligibility scores that we can find on the websites of different universities and programs. but the best score is it depends on the pool of applicants. So this year, lot of applicants are deferring their application, like when we talk about the COVID times. Okay, so next year scores can be more competitive also, because the pool of the applicants will be bigger from this size. Or it could be a situation that by January there's a lot of people who will drop out. Then again, the pool of applicants will become bigger. So a good score is determined by whatever best you can score. So no score is good, no score is bad. The score which you gets you admission is a good score, and that score is the best that you can add to you. Okay, next slide, please. So when you talk about ultimate objective of admission, I have just listed down few differences in intake of universities between 2020 and 21. Currently, there are still options available. You can start with an online semester. You can still travel. Maybe there is hope with some universities, because universities are starting across the world, but international travel is restricted right now. So options are still available if you don't want to waste time and if you want to start now. There is a hybrid model which is coming into place, that start your classes now, and as soon as the travel restrictions go, you are most welcome to take a flight, take a visa, and reach the institution. Then there is a deferment which is also available to you. If you have got an offer with you, you can defer it to the next intake. Scholarship can be questionable whether you get it in the next intake or not. So best thing is communicate with the institution if you already have an offer. Country-wise, visa regulations of border entry are dynamic at the moment. Australia, in Australia, two universities day before yesterday declared that we will take charter planes to bring our students if the students decide to take admissions. Now, this is unprecedented times. We have never heard an international university asking you to take admission and get you a home pickup service. Okay, so the environment has become so dynamic that things are changing very rapidly. In US, most of the universities are starting their intake. They say because 80% of the students are domestic, we have to start. We cannot be held back by COVID or any other factor right now. Safety is prime most concern. Start online and come to the university campus when it is all safe for travel. And more scholarships can be available currently also, because limited seats are left. People are deferring, people are moving out, people are opting out also. In our survey, 70% people are going ahead with their plans. 20% are fence sitters right now, and 10% have cancelled. But 20% fence sitters are also looking at deferring their intake. When we talk about next year, next year, the best thing what you can do is prepare better. Look for GRE or GMAT preparation. It could be a higher minimum cutoff that could imply. So prepare for it. Scholarship scenario may also change depending on the revenue that universities generate from the tuition fees. It can change. RA and TA, the biggest sources of student funding at the graduate level. Assistantships, research and teaching, they both can vary. Depends on what kind of money comes. So if you are in life sciences, for example, you can have great funding available next year because a lot of money is being pumped in, right from genetic sciences to health sciences, healthcare. All these fundings are going to increase from the next year. From the business side, business school scholarships can decrease as well. But business analytics, data sciences continue to draw more assistantships in terms of research and teaching. If you have got a good CV, you can always look for a TA. Teaching assistantships with your work experience, and if you're a subject matter expert into something, can come to you easily. There could be more flexibility next year with minimum criteria declining a bit. So all these things can happen, guys, but no change in deadlines is expected. If the deadline was for round 1, November 15, don't expect it to change. It will continue to be like that. They will not change it. They'll make 2-3 rounds of applications, but they will not change the deadlines. That is for sure. That is already reflected till now. I think I've given you a brief description of 20 and 21 difference. So next slide, please, Ravinder. So yeah, here we come to the GMAT versus GRE, guys. I will pass it over to Parminder, who is the subject matter expert of GMAT and GRE. She will take it from here on, and I'll come back to you when Parminder decides that she has given you enough knowledge on GMAT and GRE. Thank you so much. Over to you, Parminder.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. So we'll start with the differences and the introduction of GRE and GMAT. So as Manik said, that there's no difference between, now as the time moves on, there's little difference between these two tests. So I would talk about the differences from two ways. So first is the university acceptance, whether the universities are asking for GRE or GMAT. So we have seen an example that universities are accepting both. Now the difference which used to be there, GMAT used to be an MBA test and GRE used to be a test for non-commerce courses. So that has that difference is dissolved. So now universities are accepting GRE for your MBA applications also. And the another difference is from the perspective of your strengths, what you are good at, which question types you are good at, and which test you are better at. So we'll talk about both of that. But before that, I would like to start with the recent changes which have come in the GMAT and GRE test. So first, I would talk about GRE because the changes which have come in GRE are almost nil. There's only one thing that has happened, and that is that you can take your GRE test from home. There will be an online proctor, and you can simply just as comfortably as you take your mock test from home, you can take GRE test also from home. The changes have actually come in the GMAT test. There are three major changes. First of all, your exam cost now it is $200, and with that you can actually report as many scores as you want to the university, so that there's no extra score report charges that they will take from you. And apart from that, there is an AWA section also in your GMAT if you are aware about that. And if you're not aware about that, I will talk about structure in the later part of the presentation, in the next part. And so right now, AWA section is taken out. You have only math, verbal, and integrated reasoning. So that has made your test a 2 hour and 45 minutes test. So that is another big change. And apart from that, the third big change is the fixed section order. Otherwise, GMAT provides you three section, order choices, which you can choose as per your convenience. But right now, the section order is fixed and you can't change it. Okay, so these are the big changes. If you're taking your test from home, and there are some other requirements also, we will show you that at the end of the slides. Apart from that, you can visit their official websites and see what requirements are there. The requirements are majorly connected to your computer requirements and the room requirements, so that they are they're satisfied that the place you're writing test at is suited for the exam thing. Okay, so after that, so if the GMAT and GRE tests have come to your home, so there are all the more reasons that you should be serious about these tests, because now none of us are traveling. Our college classes, our work, everything is happening from home. So if everything is happening from home, I think there could only be excuses that we are delaying the preparation of the GMAT and GRE. And in fact, this lockdown started from February, March. So now we have spent two, so we are comfortable with this lockdown thing also. Staying at home, studying at home, working from home. So I think we all should start taking the preparation very very seriously, because nothing will stop. The admissions will keep on happening, and the university requirements will change. So if that is the thing, you shouldn't delay it anymore. And knowing that GRE GMAT has reached home, that means your test preparation has also changed. Now you may not have to go to the centers. The online coaching has become the new normal. In fact, I'm sure that you all must be very comfortable with the online studying and coaching, because we have a lot of online courses and online teachings happening these days. But now everything has 100% gone online. The teachers can teach you from Skype if you really want to have a face-to-face conversation, and you can study from videos also. But there are a lot of advantages of taking online coaching. uh, some of these I've listed in front of you, that the student teacher ratio is very good when you take the online. If there are not many students in the classes, like generally batches have, and the timings can be very convenient and flexible. It can be as per your and teacher schedule, and the attendance is easier. You don't have to travel. There is no tiredness, and it's safe. So all these things make your online coaching the new normal thing in today's time. So knowing that GMAT and GRE at home, and we can also prepare at home, I think we all should get really serious, huh? So let's talk about. So now we know that GMAT and GRE is happening. Both the tests are happening from home, and we have it. The universities will eventually ask for the scores. Let us understand these tests. So I would talk about the structure of GMAT and GRE in detail, and while you listen to the structure and detailing, you can basically understand the special things about the test and see which test suits you more. So in GMAT, you have four sections. You have AWA, which is a writing section. You basically have to write one essay. There is an integrated reasoning section also where you have 12 items, 12 questions, which are based on math and verbal both. And after that, you have separate math, quantitative, and verbal section. So this is the number of questions you can see in front of in front of your screen on your screen. Sorry, there's a table. So you have 31 questions in your quant and 36 questions in your verbal, and the time is also written. You have 62 and 65 minutes. In total, your test is for 3 hours 7 minutes, but now the test is for 2 hours 45 minutes. So the scoring is also explained here. You have 0 to 6. The the score is just so you have 0 to 6 for AWA, 0 to 8 for integrated reasoning, and your verbal and quant, the score ranges from 8 to 60, 0 to 60, but the final score you get is from 800. So the score range is basically 200 to 800. Manik did talk about the requirement, and it showed the University of Marshall accepting 714, but you don't have exactly 714 in your GMAT. It's either 720, 710. It's in 10, and so this is your score and structure. So I'll talk about what comes in each section also, so that you can understand which test is more comfortable as per your skill category. So this is the section order you have if you choose to write the test from your from the center. But if you choose to write the test from home, there is a fixed order. But now the test is also, in some countries the test is happening from centers also. So if you choose from the choose a center test, then you can choose from any of these orders. So in the first order, AWA comes first, then comes IR, and then comes quant and quant and verbal. Whereas in order two, you can choose verbal. Order two and order three, you can choose either verbal or quant first. And likewise, you will have quant or verbal, next. And then there will be IR and AWA. So this is the general section order generally you have when you go to the center and take the test. Now, right now in current scenario, if you're taking the test from home, only AWA is being eliminated. So you won't have to write the essay part. So let's talk about now GRE structure. So nothing has changed in GRE structure, even if you take it from home or you take it from the center. You have AWA. There's a fixed order how your test starts. Everybody has to write the essays in the starting. There are two essays. Everybody has to write two essays. Each essay is for 30 minutes. So after that, there is a jumbled order. Any section can come first. Basically, you have two verbal sections in your GRE and you have two quant sections. And one of the sections is experimental. In GMAT, your questions are experimental, and in GRE, your sections are experimental. So that is one difference. So if in GRE you see three verbal sections, so one of your verbal sections was experimental. Whereas in GMAT, the number of questions is fixed. Out of those questions, some will be experimental, but you won't get to know. And similarly, here also you won't get to know which section was experimental, because they wouldn't tell you, because that kinds of hampers the assessment they're trying to make. So you have experimental in both the tests, but the way it is presented is very different. So each section of each verbal section has 20 questions, and you have to do that in 30 minutes. And sorry. And each math section again has 20 questions, but the time is little more. You have 35 minutes per section. In GRE, you can move in between the section, but you can't go from one section to other section. In GMAT, you can't go back to the previous question, because that's a question adaptive, it's a test. And GRE is a section adaptive test. So that is another difference between GRE and GMAT. GMAT is a question adaptive test. How you perform on set of questions, 2, 3 questions or some questions, decide the difficulty level of further questions. So we'll talk a bit about how to attempt your GMAT or GRE, because I'm going to give you an advice to try either one of the tests or both of the tests to understand which test you are better at and which test you should basically go for. So actually in that thing, there are two, you can take help in you can actually take help in two ways. One is you know if you feel that you're confused which test you will be good at, you can write the test or you can probably take a trial session from the trainers, and the trainer can do the assessment and let you know which test you are good at. So about the GMAT, if you have started attempting GMAT, so GMAT is, as I said, it's a question adaptive thing. So the your performance on each question or set of questions decide the difficulty level of the further question. So it's very important that you start your test very cautiously, because it's been observed, or it is speculated that your majority of experimental questions come in between the test. So they're basically between 10 to 30 questions, in the middle part, because initially if they give you experimental, then it's very hard to score your test. Or the experimentals are very few. You will see just one experimental in the first 7 or first 8 questions. So if you do well in the first few questions, there are higher chances that you will get a higher score in your test. Whereas if you do your test bad in the starting, you don't perform well, then there are little chances that you will get a very good score. So it's very important that you start your test, you take good time, maybe little extra time for the initial questions, and if you have to run, that has to happen in the in the questions which are coming in the middle of the test. And the same applies for the last part also. For the last few a few questions, 4 or 5 questions, you should again have good time, and you should spend more time on the last questions and do them well. Whereas in GRE, it's very different, since it is section adaptive. So how you perform in the first section decides the difficulty level of the second section, and that difficulty level in turn decides your score. So to give you an example, if you out of the 20 questions in verbal in the first section, if you get only 10 correct, your second section will be medium, and that means your score may not go, may not be more than 152 or 153. So that is an example. So about scoring. So it's very important that you perform really well on the section. So your test is a section. It's a section adaptive thing. So we generally recommend that students skip the tougher questions. Probably mark anything, any random answer, because there is no negative scoring directly in the GRE. And attempt the easier questions first, because both of your first sections, math as well as verbal, they are mix of easy, medium, and hard questions. So if you can't do harder question, you can definitely do easy and medium questions well. So that will help you get a decent average score at least. And another advice from a math trainer is that make wise use of on-screen calculator. So you have on-screen calculator on the GRE test. So a student should know how to use it. And if the student doesn't know, then obviously the teacher comes, and plays an important role in uh, helping you decide how to, understand how to use the calculator. So this is the difference about how to choose between GMAT, how to, about the difference between GMAT and GRE. How you should choose is very important. So I'll come on the scorecard thing later. Uh, you know, so we have given you the name of the websites here. For GRE test, you can go to www.ets.org, and for GMAT, you can go to www.mba.com. You can make an account and access one of the official tests from these websites. So one day you can sit for GMAT, and after two days or probably next day you can sit for GRE if you are going to decide it yourself whether you're going to take GRE or GMAT. Okay, we'll talk about a few things at the end about the basic major differences. But you have seen, as I've told you, that the big things about GMAT and GRE is that the type of sections and the type of adaptivity these tests use. So that can also be a decision maker when you're deciding whether you should go for GRE or GMAT. Now let me show you the scorecards of our students, one of our students. So this is GMAT scorecard. So this is how your GMAT scorecard looks like. So the student had given two tests. In the first test, the student got a 700, which is an 88 percentile. In math, the student had 50, which is 85 percentile, and in verbal, the student had 34. The student improved a lot on the verbal section and eventually got a 44, which made his score 770. So getting a good score in verbal can really improve, your total score. And you can also see the analytical writing score. It's 5 with a 53 percentile, and that means a lot of students, probably are getting 5 or at the score of 5. And in integrated reasoning, both times the student has got 8 and it is 92 percentile. So this is how your actual official score report looks like. Okay. When you write your mock test, the score report is not like that. You have basically a page which shows you which question you got wrong and how much is your score. GRE score report looks like this. The student got 154 in the verbal, which is 65th percentile, 170 in math, which is 96th percentile, and the AW is 4.5, which is 82nd percentile. So again, the scores are being represented here. So this is how the official GRE score report also looks like. Whereas the practice test you will write, you will also get to see which questions you got wrong, and it will also show you the explanation for the correct answers and the wrong answers. So you obviously make use of that. Now, a few things about the GMAT and GRE home test. So what you should have, we have kind of made a note of that. Probably you can take a picture of this, and if not, you can go to their official website and they have listed these things there too. So these are the things you need when you are going to write the test from home. Computer with an approved operating system, camera, microphone. Your camera and microphone should be working. Speakers, private room. There should be nobody else in the room. The proctor will check that. Table and chair, wired mouse, your passport. The first person will see your passport, and you must meet all one view system requirements. So that there's some requirement, they will check that, and you should meet that. Okay, they need Windows 10, Windows 8.1, all these things. Okay. So I'll show you about GRE also. And I don't think these are very, difficult things. You guys have, latest computers and laptops, so it should not be a problem. Some of my students have written, in fact, GRE and GMAT tests from home. One of the students just wrote a GRE test on 12th June. He got 162 in the verbal section and 169 in the math section. He said it went really well. It was very smooth. And I had a question, whether he could take the break or not. He said he could take the break. He went to the washroom and ate cookies. And when he came back, he had 2-3 minutes left, and then the test started. And he was quite happy because he could get a good score. And he said it was in fact comfortable giving the test from home because all the mock tests were also given from the home. So the checklist for GRE looks like this: Windows computer, uh, Chrome web browser for Proctor U, and camera, microphone, speakers, private location, desk or table and chair, whiteboard. Okay, whiteboard is very important. Now GMAT is also allowing physical whiteboard. Earlier, there was only a on-screen whiteboard, but in GRE, you can use any of these two. You can either use the plastic sheet, any plastic transparent sheet for your rough work, or a whiteboard, a physical whiteboard. But at the end of the test, the proctor will ask you to show whether you have erased all the sheets, all the rough work you did. So that before that, the proctor won't release your score. So that's important. The same applies in GMAT also. So you should have dry erasable markers which can be erased, passport or other identifying document, and the successfully installed browser and fulfillment of Proctor U requirement system. Okay, so there's a chat box also via which you can talk to your proctor. You can talk to him. Whereas in between the tests, they don't reply. If there is no technical glitch, for example, my student in between the verbal section was trying to talk to the proctor. He didn't reply because the test was going on. After that, he replied. Okay, so until unless there is no technical glitch, the proctor won't come into the picture. Okay, so this is the checklist, and so let's talk in a little in detail about while I'm concluding about GMAT or GRE. So I will talk from the verbal point of view also, and maths section 2, math skill 2. So in GMAT verbal, a lot of stress is paid on or a lot of stress is on your grammar. You have sentence correction, which is purely grammar and meaning. Whereas in GRE, there's a lot of stress on vocab. So GMAT verbal is divided into three parts. You have reading comprehension, you have critical reasoning, you have sentence correction. And all three, you have almost equal number of questions of the all three categories. Whereas in GRE, you have just reading comprehensions and vocab questions. So from a teacher's perspective, if somebody is in a hurry and really want to finish the test early, I think GRE would be a better choice because GMAT requires one to practice for little more days, probably more than 10, 15 days or 1 month at least. Whereas GRE can happen a little faster if you're good at vocab. So this is one main difference about GRE and GMAT between them. If you're good in vocab, you can go for GRE. If you feel you're good in grammar and your language is really your strength, then GMAT and GRE both will suit you. Whereas about math, it is generally said that GMAT's math is harder than GRE's math. GRE's math is straightforward and is more, typically like math we do in the school. It's not very, it's straightforward. So this is what is talked about, GRE math. So that is another difference, about between these tests, and can be one of the can be the decision maker if you're choosing between these two things. But obviously, until unless you have not written a test, you can't decide which one of them you would go for. So I would recommend that you write a mock test by yourself that really helps you understand the test, and helps you understand how it is, the question type, the difficulty level of the test. And after that, if you're still confused, you should contact the trainers. The trainers, since have taught so many students, they understand which student will do better on which type of test. So don't hesitate, and feel free to contact people who can help you. So over to you, Manik, and we can take the questions after this.
First of all, Parminder, thank you so much for giving a huge platter of knowledge to all the attendees regarding GRE and GMAT. I hope it would have been really useful for them. So guys, that is it from our side, from Parminder and me. We'll go to the Q&A. Guys, our website is there. We have mentioned our email ID also. Plus, I think you will get a email from the organizer as well in terms of taking your response. And if you're interested in either the admission counseling session, a free counseling session, or a free demo of our GRE or GMAT class, we are happy to bring it to your home. We have got mentioned our number also. If you want to give us a call, feel free to call on our Indian number 785 You can reach us at studyabroad@collegedekho.com. Our website is www.collegedekho.com, and feel free to ask all your questions. So we are ready for Q&A. Arbaz?
Yeah, thank you so much, guys. Thank you for that amazing presentation and for all the information that you guys give out to us. We have had a number of questions here. I'll start taking them one by one. So
Yeah.
there is a question that talks about and asks actually how important is a test score in scoring a scholarship?
Thank you so much for this question. So I'll give you an example. Okay, or I'll start in this way. It depends on the shortlist completely. It depends on which university you are applying to. So some universities are able to give you scholarships on the basis of score that you have achieved. Some universities are bounded by that they are not able to give scholarships at all, even though whatever your score is. But nevertheless, in case you are looking for scholarship opportunity through a test score, then you have to apply to right universities. When you apply to right universities, your score will be definitely important for scholarships. So that's why I've just taken you a step back. If you choose right universities to apply, where scholarships can be provided to international students, definitely score will be an important factor to get you that scholarship. And for MS students, it is definitely there. For business school, MBA program attracts, you can say, lesser scholarship for students in comparison to the master's program, typically.
Understood. Got it.
Yes.
So another question talks about, and I think this is a GMAT specific question, is what they mentioned. What is more important in a GMAT test? Answering all the questions correctly or answering all questions?
I'll leave it to Parminder to answer this.
Okay, actually, you have to answer all the questions. There is no choice. If you leave some questions, there is negative, scoring. And we recommend not to leave any questions. For example, if you have 5 or 3 minutes left, but you have a set of 10 questions or 12 questions left, we generally suggest that you mark letter of the day for all the questions, but don't leave any questions. And the second suggestion which you're giving, marking all the questions correct, that's a dream. Everybody wants that. So if one can do that, I think there can be nothing better than that. That is something what everybody wants. So if you can do that, well and good, and a teacher can help you in that probably.
Understood. Uh, so there's another question that talks about it doesn't specify which test exactly, but he says that he's working right now, and how can a person like manage their preparation with their regular 9 to 5 job? Is it possible? Is it something that's been happening pretty often? And how can you guys help out in that? Do you have any specific plan for people like that?
So I would say all my students, all GRE or and GMAT students. Mani can also add in that, in fact, because he
Yeah,
also
Pramila, please
interacts
go
with
on.
them.
I'll add when you.
Yes. So all my GRE and GMAT students, they are, engaged in something. In fact, the SAT students also, they're going to school, they're engaged in so many activities. In fact, it's difficult to fix their classes because they are doing so many things. When they have vacations, they are doing internships. When they have school, they are doing activities, they're learning dance, they're going to, extra math classes. In fact, the people who are working, they are at little ease because they have just office work, so they can take out time if they want. And generally the weekends are free. So I would say whomsoever who has asked this question, you're not the only one. Everybody is, managing it with other activities and the other, the jobs. So Manik, would you like to add something here?
Yeah, I think see, time management is something that you have to look at, and this is a very important question if you're applying for a business school. I can think of one of the questions that Stanford used to ask before, though it has changed over a period of time, the questions and all. They said, "Are you able to manage your time well?" So it becomes a tricky question. If you say, "I have not been able to," then you say, "What have you done to improve it?" It's an interview question. I'm not saying it's an application question. So time management is something which is built in your application system also. Start preparing now. Start utilizing your time in the best possible ways from now itself. And doing these classes, studying simultaneously along with your work and everything will start building the discipline in you. And it is easily doable. A lot of students across the world do it. So why not you?
Hmm. And I would like to add on what Manik has said here. Generally, the problem is when you don't start on the time. So, if your application starts in September, you should start preparation at least 6 months before. So, like that, you don't feel burdened, because you have plenty of time to prepare and, in fact, reappear for test if required. So, generally, students start when they start their application. So, then they feel really, bombarded with a lot of things, applications, editing of the essays, deadlines, and the test also. So that's a wrong practice. Hmm.
Understood. And to that question, I think there is a similar question to that, but I think this would be a different a different answer to it. So people who have been working, and how do you guys, what do you guys suggest, and how do you guys help such students who have been working for a certain bit of time, and it's been like certain like few years before they have, since they have picked up a book and actually studied, and because and they aren't really
So
used to.
I can understand the question. This is another common question we get, that it's been 7 years that they haven't picked up picked up any book or studied for anything. So they're a little scared whether it will be same as it was in the school or college time. So
Exactly.
just let me tell you, wherever you go, whichever coaching you join or whichever trainer you take help of, I think the trainers start with the very basic thing. So we want to do the tougher questions first. We want to really start off with a very hard practice. But generally trainers with almost every student start with the very basic things, so that the student understand the test and the questions first, and then once you have understood the test, then the practice can become extensive, and it can be as per your your skill set and the situation is at that time. So don't worry about that. I think it's easy. It's not at all difficult. Almost all the GMAT students are studying after 4, 5 or 7 years. So it's not at all difficult.
Understood.
Yeah, I'll just like to add to it. So if we club last two questions together, it's about if you start planning in advance. So a lot of students come to us a year or 2 years before as well. When they have to go for, suppose you're looking at 2021 intake, you can come to us in April of 2020. When you have not touched your book for many years, it may take you a bit of time. to get into that groove where you start scoring better. Score improvement takes a bit of time. It takes effort. It takes mentoring. Okay, so when you are onto that score improvement chart, then you can appear for test twice or thrice also. There is no point that you can only appear for test once only. So if you come to us at least a year in advance, then what we can do, we can help you plan it better. For people with work experience, they are not able to take out time every month or every week. So there would be breaks, pauses which will come into their application process. Start early, even for test prep, even for admissions, and we'll be able to help you plan for it in a better way. We can devise a roadmap for you, what we will be doing every month up to your admissions intake. So that helps you plan your work along with your studies and your application process very comfortably.
Understood. Got it. Then there is a question. I think this is a very tactical question, uh, and something that even I have heard actually. How important are the first 10 questions in GMAT?
Yes, this is what we were talking about actually while I was talking about how to attempt your test. So if you read the, suggestion from the OG, it's a myth that your first 10 questions are very important, but it has been observed that the first 10 questions actually play a very important role in your score. If you do well on the first 10 questions, there are higher chances that your total, the end score will be good. But if you do bad because your test starts with a medium question, everybody, all of us start with a medium question, and
Hmm.
that medium question is equivalent to a score of 28 in GMAT, which is out of, which is in the range of 9 to 51 or 0 to 60, whatever we want to say, so if we do, I mean, if we get repeatedly wrong in the initial 10 questions, then there's very little chance that we improve later on. Okay, so the first 10 questions and the last few questions are very important, I would say, you know and it's an observation, it's a speculation. GMAC, as a body denies it, but almost every teacher will give you the suggestion to not, be little, don't not to be very very, just childish about the first 10 questions. They're very important
Understood.
to your test.
Got it. And so I think there's another question on AWA section, and
Hmm.
the attendee has asked, what exactly is the AWA section looking for? A brilliant writing or competent writing?
I
I mean, is
think
it a
both of them. Obviously, they are not asking. They don't want very fancy essay with, words nobody has ever heard of,
Mhm.
have ever heard of. So, but they want a good argument. So it's like, if you're going for any course, it's like your statement of purpose, how well you can present your opinion on a presented, topic or argument. I think so. They want a brilliant essay, and a brilliant essay is a, would be a competent essay. So there are parameters on which you get scoring. So once you understand those parameters, anybody can get a decent score. For example, grammar and all these things is one of the parameters. So if your grammar is really messed up, you may see your score going down. So just a, point. So apart from that, there are other parameters also. How do you address your essay? How many words you should write, how many paragraphs you should break it in, what should be your second paragraph, how should you end your essay. So once you understand all these details, I think you can write a very good essay.
Understood. And since that you guys mentioned that, even for a lot of business schools as well, one can take a GRE test, and that is accepted, right? So are there any hidden weightage or a consideration for someone who has taken a GMAT over a GRE, even if the university is accepting both? Is there any preference given to someone who has taken a GMAT and then applies?
No, no, because university, that's why university has got every choice to just mention one test. There
Hmm.
is no pressure on them at all. If they are mentioning both the tests, they will respect scores on both. I interact with a lot of institutions around the world, and once they have taken GRE as a factor of admission into their business school, for example, they will have a comparative score chart with them. That's how they will compare.
Okay, so understood. So if someone has scored 320 and on GRE, and another candidate has scored about 740 on GMAT, they would be able to see exactly which one is better.
Yes,
Is that
740 is always bigger. Always
Hmm.
bigger.
But Arbaz, you're right. They will be able to see which one is, a higher score. I think universities have the convertible table.
So, Arbaz, a very interesting thing about it, GRE always publishes equivalent score of GMAT, but GMAT never does.
Oh,
GMAT always thinks that we are on a higher level. So they will never publish an equivalent score. But GRE, they will compare it as an equivalent score. But from university's point of view, if they have written, they will look at both the scores. They have got their own comparative chart to take the score.
understood. Got it. I think before we wrap up, there's another question on the IR section, and it's primarily on the fact that is IR really considered from an admission point of view, or if it's not, then what's the relevance of it?
I think Manik can also answer that, and I would say it's very important. So now so earlier, 2 or 3 years back, there were some scores where IR was not part of the total score because IR was introduced just I think 6-7 years back. But now anybody who's writing GMAT, all the old scores, all of them have IR as the one of the scores in the GMAT test. So universities actually really want a good IR score. I think it's important in your profile.
So,
Just I think
so
Manik can or add.
see, generally for all such factors which don't contribute to scores, they keep a minimum. Okay, like an AWA kind of a section. Okay, so they
Got it.
keep okay minimum. This is our standard to take on. They don't go beyond that. If you have met those standards, that is all right.
Got it. Great. So, thank you so much, both of you, for being with us here today. I really hope that attendees benefited from the videos. It would be put up on our YouTube page as well. So, anybody who would like to check it out afterwards, feel free to visit the Empower Financing YouTube page. And from there on, we hope to see you guys excel in your journey for your abroad education. And all the best, all of you. If you wish to schedule a free counseling session with College Deco team, we'll be sending you a link over there. Feel free to click on it, fill in the details, and I think somebody from College Deco will reach out to you, and your journey should begin from there. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you so much, Arvaz. Thank you, Empire
Thank
Finance.
you.
Thank you, Parvinder. Good day.